Hi everyone, this is Jerry. This is a video covering 10 ways to improve your chess. I'm currently a national master in the game, and each of these points that I'm going to make are ways which have helped improve my own game. Some more so than others, but in the end, all of these points that I'm going to be making have helped contribute to my own successes. So the first thing to focus on are some things about yourself. Figure out the type of learner you are and diagnose your style of play. Personally, I am a visual learner. I take a great deal from reviewing videos on chess. I'm also a kinesthetic learner. I'm more hands-on. I take a great deal, whether it's in person or online, I take a great deal from playing the game. I'm also a logical and mathematical learner. I seem to be applying numbers wherever I can throughout the course of a chess game, and I try to apply logic wherever I can as well. When it comes to my style of play, I'm a positional player. What style are you? Are you more so positional, or are you more so tactical? Or maybe you're finding yourself somewhere in between. But in the end, you need to know these two things before you could really head in any one direction with improving your own game. So number two, you can solve checkmate tactical puzzles. This is something that I did a lot of when I was younger. I solved a real lot of checkmate in one problems until there really wasn't a checkmate in one problem that I couldn't solve, and then I was challenging myself, going to checkmate in twos, threes, and then tactical puzzles, trying to solve ones which were getting more and more difficult. I tried to get it to a point where these sorts of things became second nature to me, where these little combinations or these little tactical themes. So I think this would be a good foundation for your own game. Number three, play blindfold chess. This helped out in the areas of memorization, concentration, and focus. This was very difficult very early on for me because it was just tough to play a game legally. I mean, I set a smaller goal for myself, which was to at least play the first 20 moves of a game legally. And, then I would try to play a full game. But the end result is that when I went from playing this blindfold game to a regular game, I was able to devote all of this additional energy that was having to be spent on memorizing where the pieces were on the board. I was able to transfer my attention to just focusing on the game itself and focusing on what should actually be getting done in this particular position, things like that. Number four, play against those stronger than yourself. Very early on, I was surrounded by Class A players, and those were the types of players that I was playing against. And sure enough, I kind of fast-forwarded to that point in my own game. I kind of got to the Class A level very quickly. Beyond that point, it was a bit more gradual, but I attribute my getting to that point in large part to those I was playing against. I was used to seeing these Class A type of moves, so to speak, and so I was knowing how to react accordingly to those who were not at the Class A level. It's kind of a similar concept to being able, if I could run a mile without getting winded, I could run a half a mile without getting winded, or if I could bench 200 pounds, I could bench a $150, things like that. Also, I challenged myself whenever it came time to compete in a tournament. When I was rated a high 1500, I could have very well entered the under 1600 section, but I didn't. I went into the under 1800 section. I didn't like playing the role of being one of the top dogs in the section. I would much rather be an underdog. The end result of this was that I got beat a real lot, but what I gained in return was experience, and I got to see what that next level was like. Number five, find a strong player with a style similar to your own and review their games. Again, this is getting back to the first point, knowing what style you are. I'm a positional player. If you too are a positional player, it might not be a bad idea. I'm just going to throw a couple names out there. It might not be a bad idea to review games by Capablanca or Karpov. If you are more so tactical, it might not be a bad idea to go through games by Tal or Kasparov, just to give you some idea. Number 6, develop an opening repertoire that fits your style of play. I'm a positional player, therefore when I'm playing the white pieces, I play d4 quite a bit, because that generally leads into more positional type of waters. When I'm playing the black pieces and I'm seeing my opponent play e4, I'm responding c6, the Caro-Kann, or d5, the Scandinavian. If I'm more so tactical, I would be going with e4 as white, or if I'm playing the black pieces in response to e4, I'd be playing the Sicilian defense, c5, or if I'm seeing d4, I'd be replying maybe with the Grunfeld defense or the Nimzo-Indian defense, things like that. If, getting back to the previous point I made about reviewing games of strong players who share similar style, you can maybe get a feel for what openings they're playing and adopt those into your own opening repertoire. Number 7, find a book that meets your needs. Of the 3 phases of the game, where are you deficient? You probably have an idea of this. Is it just 10 moves into the game and you're finding your positions hopeless? Maybe grabbing a book that is more geared towards the opening phase of the game is the way to go. Maybe the positions are very simplified, the queens are off the board. You feel that you're in a good position but you're not able to convert the point. Maybe an endgame book is the way to go. Or maybe you're able to get your pieces developed and then you get to a point where you're like, I don't know what to do. Maybe the middle game book is the way to go. One last suggestion when it comes to the books, try and find one which is more so along the lines of the author talking to you, opposed to it being jam-packed with computer analysis, variations upon sub-variations. That could be very tedious to have to go through. If I was to write a book, it would be it'd be more along the lines of me actually talking to you. So try and find a book that has an author talking to you, letting you know, well, I think white in this position is better for reasons A, B, C, and D, or I think black is not good in this position as a result of the hole on the square d5, things like that. So actually being in the bookstore to actually skim through the book might not be a bad idea prior to actually purchasing a book, but I would definitely go for one which is more so along the lines of packed with dialogue opposed to computer analysis. Number 8, review your games. I really don't have too much more to add to this besides you don't want to make the same mistake more than once. So whether it's a win, loss, or a draw, just review your own games. Number 9, diagnose your defeats. In which area of the game are you seeing a pattern? If you're meticulous enough with improving your own game, you can start to maybe see some patterns. Maybe you're continually going wrong out of the opening or the middle game, the end game. You could use a computer to help you out with knowing why a particular move might not be the best. If you're playing the white pieces and the evaluation is at a +2, and after your next move it goes down to 0 or maybe slightly under, there's probably a mistake with that particular move. Try and find the reason why there's a mistake with that move. Maybe you're creating a hole in your own position, or a backward pawn, or your piece by going to that square is out of play, things like that. So try and find the reasons for your own defeats. And lastly, have a good internal dialogue. For example, if I'm playing the black pieces and my opponent makes a move rook to g1 and my king is on g8 and I have a pawn on g7, one comment that I would be making to myself is that rook is pinning my pawn to my king. This is assuming that no other pieces exist on the g file, but I'd be saying that rook is pinning my pawn to my king, and when I hear that word pin, that sort of sets off a red flag to me. What that red flag tells me is that I should be focusing on the squares f6 and h6. The reason for this is because for as long as that rook remains on g1, my pawn is on g7, and my king is on g8, my pawn doesn't guard those two squares, f6 and h6, because it's pinned. So maybe my opponent could be making use of those squares, or maybe even capturing pieces if I have pieces on f6 and h6. So it's like a cue for me to know to watch out for those sorts of things, and to also be asking yourself good questions during the course of a game. When your opponent makes a move, probably one of the most popular questions to ask yourself is, what's the threat? It gets a bit more lengthy, this list that you could be asking yourself. There's a lot of different questions you could be asking yourself. What is the, am I creating any weakness as a result of this pawn move that I'm making? Stuff like that. Or maybe if I move my knight to h5, is it really going to be able to come back into play more towards the center of the board? Stuff like that. So the list can be quite lengthy, but if you're, again, meticulous enough with trying to get better at the game, if you're adamant enough with trying to get better at the game, you could literally just write these things down, have a good list, a good set of questions, and try and comment during the course of the game. So that's all for this video. I hope you're able to take something away from it. Take care. Bye.